Good morning, everybody. It's Hammer. Today is Monday, November 10th, 2025. I, of course, am Hammer, the founder of Originator Success, Grab and Go Social, and Rate Sensei, all products that are built to help my mortgage originator friends be found on Google and AI search and get more loans from Google, AI search, and social media. So check those out when you have a chance. Remember, you can join me live each and every weekday morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time on Facebook and on YouTube. Going to be traveling later this week to Austin, Texas for my man Scott Groves and Consolidated Coaching. Going to be speaking at his annual event. And then the following week, I will be at my Founders Board Mastermind with Ryan Dice and the Scalable Company. But I will still be coming live to y'all, even though last week I vacillated a little. So many of you supported me and sent me encouraging messages. I appreciate that. So if you're here this morning, say good morning. If you're watching on the replay, don't forget, give me hashtag replay in the comments, because I need to see a lot more replay. I need to definitely do more with the replay. I really want to know how many people watch the replay, even if you fast forward, but how many are watching, how many are not. Otherwise, I think what I might have to do is change the format a little to make it more replay friendly, or do my live show and then do more with the components to make it more replay friendly. So if you are here, though, remember to tell everybody else you can get a quick text reminder to join me each and every weekday morning, because the show is best consumed live. And you can see that if you could sign up to get that reminder at hmmr.io/reminder, hmmr.io/reminder. Go there, sign up, give us your cell phone number, and we will send you a quick text with the links to join each morning. You can also use this cool QR code over here. If you're on your phone now, take a screenshot. I know this works for Apple, but I'm not sure on Android. Maybe one of y'all Droid users can tell me. But if you go into your pictures on Apple, all you have to do is press and hold the QR code in the photos, and then it'll bring up a menu and it'll let you load it in Safari. So that's how those work on there. But they do work on that. So anyway, check us out. Always appreciate that. Let's go ahead and let's say hi to all the live folks, and then we're going to jump in, go over what we got going today. Today, we are going to be covering 50-year mortgages. I want to debate that a little bit. Y'all went and started talking about this over the weekend. And for those of you that may not be able to tell, I don't make a big deal out of it, because there's nothing funnier than someone that's like, I'm not on social media, and they're telling everybody on social media that they're not on social media. But I don't generally go on the weekends. I was away with my wife. We went to the Urit up in Mars Hill. It was a wicked time, by the way. Yep, had a great time. Picked up some furniture for the barn. But anyway, so was not on Facebook. All of a sudden, I see everything blowing up with this 50-year mortgage thing. So I want to talk a little bit more about that. So we're going to come back to that towards the end of the show. Stick around if you want to talk about that. The more relevant to the immediate rate environment is the shutdown. I said, hey, we don't really know what a reaction is going to be, but we got to see one this morning. The end of the shutdown is in sight, so we'll talk about that and what it's doing to rate sheets and where we're going from there. So definitely stick around. We'll get into all that, but let's say good morning real quick to so many of my live friends that are here this morning. Good morning, Amber Moser. Good morning, Mallory Fotiadis. Good morning, Megan Bassell, Deb Dickinson, Amy Blauser, Tom Stafford, Almir Krivdik, Joni Utnidge, Maureen, good morning, Sean Segaloff, Tom Dedmore, Michael Scott Love, Holly Johnson, Max Franks, Brandy Brickler, Tiffany Teal, Kenny Rivard, Allison Foy, Yasmin, so many of you on here, Carly, Mike Brown, Aldrina, Rob, Stewart. Yeah, so Joni said with what you usually watch the replay, but with what the Senate passed last night, I'm here to hear your thoughts. Yeah, so we'll go into that. We'll talk about that, at least how it'll affect mortgage rates and stuff. Good morning, Lisa. Great to see you. Yep, we do have a little bit of snow this morning, just a little bit. It's already starting to melt. So good morning. Candido Diaz, Jerry Vila. Ron Siegel says today is National Vanilla Cupcake Day. How vanilla. So, but let's go ahead, put your opinion. We will come back and talk about this at the end. So, let's discuss and debate 50-year mortgages For or against, and why? Okay, so we're going to come and talk about this. It's currently 5 minutes in. We'll talk about it around the 15-minute mark. We'll come back. We're going to talk about this. So, make sure you stay on that. Otherwise, in the meantime, let me go ahead, share my screen, show you what we got going on this morning. Let me pull up Presentify real quick so I can draw. Presentify is cool, isn't it? Being able to draw on the screen for y'all and show you a little bit better than just swirling my. Where did Presentify go? Why is it not coming up? It's here. Huh. Let me check it again. Presentify. Oh, there it goes. Okay. All right. So it did not load. All right. So taking a look this morning, you can see mortgage-backed securities currently down 10 basis points. And that is not nearly as bad as it was this morning. Let me go ahead and put this on the 2-day and we'll zoom in on it. So here you go. All right. So taking a look here, bringing you in on what we got going on. Quick recap. Let's start with what happened on Friday. Friday, you could see that bonds did not move much at all. It was a really, really flat day. Pricing came out right around 10 a.m. It improved a little bit and then ended the day. I mean, you don't get much more flat than that. That's like we're just going to put this guy like this with these, right? I mean, like that's just a sleeper. That's just a sleeper move. I don't know how to make him look like he's sleeping. But I mean, like, that's just a sleeper move. There's really nothing on Friday. So mortgage bonds ended the week almost exactly as we were the week before. 101.05 on Friday, October 31st, 101.04 on Friday, November 7th. You don't get much more flat than that. We had a little bit of improvement, a little bit of a loss, a little bit of recovery, and basically ended the week flat. When you take a look at what that did to rate sheets, though, look at where we were on the 31st, 6.28, but yet 6.32. We ended the week, according to Mortgage News Daily, a little bit worse, which shows you that pricing is not always exactly what you see on mortgage bonds, but also where lenders are pricing. And this kind of makes sense to me. There's a little bit of risk premium that's in those Friday rate sheets based on the fact of the government shutdown and where things were going to go there. So if you look, it's funny because Thursday was actually closer to where we were the week before, even though, again, when you look at bonds, we're almost exactly the same. It's flat. But when you go back and you look at rate sheet pricing, it doesn't necessarily have to follow those same rules. I mean, we're just in, but that's only just a slight difference. We're really not much there. Rate sheets today, though, going to be a little bit worse than Friday's. When we're down 10 basis points, that's what's going to happen. You can see here, this was all due to the government shutdown headlines. So if we take a look real quick, the Senate advanced a plan to end the shutdown after some Democrats broke ranks and agreed to what was going on. Now, this is only what they call a procedural measure to advance the bill itself. So that's going to have to go and be voted on. I think, I forgot when it was it Saturday or Sunday? He put the Speaker of the House put a 36-hour requirement for everybody to show up. So, by the way, reprice risk today is moderate. We could see rate sheets worsen through the day. It's not something that we necessarily will have to see. Let me just adjust this here. Pull this over. Doobie-doobie-doo. All right. There we go. Okay, so taking a look here, it's very realistic that we could see rate sheets drift back, or not rate sheets, but bonds drift back lower on the day like they were here, as we saw earlier in the day. And that would put lenders in a place to reprice worse. Also, I don't think this is only just an initial knee-jerk reaction. I think when the government shutdown when the full measure gets passed, when the bill gets passed, that will help things to improve through or worsen through here. Is what I think is going to happen. So anyway, taking a look here at the shutdown, though, some Democrats did go ahead and break ranks, as it says here. Senate Democrat caucus members who voted to advance the measure. You can go ahead online and see them. we can argue about the merits of the whole thing, but at the end of the day, it's going to be what it's going to be. Siegel always thinking out loud. Siegel said, "What happens if Congress can't get back to the shutdown due to weather in Chicago? Not only weather in Chicago, but what if they were going to catch a plane and their plane was canceled?" Like an acquaintance of mine who has business trips, and all 4 of her flights were canceled. All 4. My flight on Wednesday still, I have not been notified that it's been canceled yet. I don't think that they'll cancel them this far in advance, but hopefully not. I'm going to be flying, this week. I'm going to be flying out Wednesday, back Sunday, and out again Monday, and back the following Friday. So, yeah, I got 4 different trips planned that I have to deal with. So anyway, taking a look here at this, hopefully that won't be a big deal with the weather in Chicago. We will figure it out, though. So the Senate advanced the bill to end the shutdown. Doesn't include the extension to the ACA subsidies. Back when the Republicans were on the other side of the fence and they were the minority and they were fighting to, get something passed, they didn't get it done either. They were fighting other issues and they never got them done. So the losing side, the side that's always holding out for leverage, they never win. But yet we see this behavior over and over. It brings back the employees laid off during the shutdown. There's a whole bunch of janky stuff here. That's at least good to see. Nobody should lose their job for the shutdown. Funds some agencies for the fiscal year, and it's more funding through January. And then we get more fun as all of this, because it's only going to push it off through the holidays, and then they'll be doing this again. So we'll definitely come back through here and take a look. But right here, under the agreement, Congress would pass full year funding for some departments and fund other agencies through January 30th. The bill would provide pay for furloughed government employees and resume withheld federal payments to states and localities. So that's good. Shutdown's likely to end towards the end of the week is when they're anticipating it. House passage is not guaranteed. With Democratic leaders speaking out against the deal and conservative Republican members wanting a bill that would fund the entire government. So what happened was it's already been approved through the House, but now the Senate is going to mark it up, so it has to go back to the House. It'll go through. I don't care what they say here. It'll go through. Conservative Republican members wanting a bill that would fund the entire government until next September 30th. I think this is just more jockeying, more political nonsense in front of the cameras. So keeping an eye on the time, by the way. We're going to come back to that 50-year mortgage question. But, this was the immediate response that we saw was bad for pricing. It did. Look at this. We went from, what was this, 101.05 down to 100.85. So we were down about 20 basis points. Is it earth-shattering? No. But it shows you that the initial reaction is not necessarily going to help bonds. We shouldn't expect to be seeing any improvement here. I've been in a locking stance the last couple of days, and I'm still in a locking bias. Anything closing in 15 days, anything that's closing even in the next month, I would be looking. So, as it's got down on the bottom, lock loans closing near term or risk averse for protection. Loans that close later don't have quite that urgency. So if you got loans closing in December, January, we're not worried about those. But anything's closing near term, you want to just protect what we've got going on. We take a look at Fed futures. We've talked about that. If this column here, which shows a December rate cut, if we see this column work lower, and then this column would come up. If we see that happen, that is going to hurt rate sheets. So keep that in mind. If we see that right now, it's about 66%. When we take a look at what that was compared to Friday, here you go. It's been a week, a day, and today it's been pretty much, it moves during the day, but overall, you can't get much more flat than that. So it really, markets are pretty much have made up their mind now. When we see that shutdown get lifted, that could change this. Also, it's unlikely that we see any ruling on the Trump tariff stuff with SCOTUS, the Supreme Court, for a few weeks. Normally, we wouldn't even get an answer to that until the spring. So it's likely that we'll get an answer before then, but who knows when? It won't be anytime soon. So let's go ahead. Let's address that that 50-year mortgage. I'm waiting to see do I have it up here? I don't even have anything up here. 50-year mortgage. All right, so let's have some fun and let's talk about the 50-year mortgage. Those of you that don't know, I'm not a fan of Pulte. By the way, how many of you saw Pulte speak at Fuse? I did not. I was not at Fuse. How many of you saw Pulte speak? And is my opinion, I mean, I've never met the guy, right? So, and who am I? I'm just some pissant internet guy. Is my opinion wrong? Is Pulte smarter, more capable, better than I give him credit for? Because I think he's a lapdog imbecile. I really do. The fact that I think he just loves where he is in the Trump's world and will run and do anything that Trump says. And I think that I think the idea of a 50-year mortgage is stupid. That is the comment that I've got on the bottom. I said a 50-year mortgage is stupid. Changed my mind. I don't think so. So let's go ahead and let's see what you guys have to say. Let's see. Barry kept saying if it doesn't happen quickly, the Fed will not have time to do a rate cut in December. Do I think Friday will be soon enough? I don't think that it's going to have nearly as much of an effect on a December rate cut. I think that Powell was pretty clear that they don't want to do a December rate cut. Remember that's December 10th is when that would be. Let's take a look at that. That is December 10th. So you're talking about, I mean, if it didn't happen by Friday, even if the 21st, they'd have to gather data. They have to do data. I don't know. Barry's definitely smarter about this stuff and would, if he says that's the way it would be. But I don't think that necessarily December rate cut is all that helpful anyway. What we do have to remember, though, is that if markets are pricing in a pretty strong idea that it's going to happen, like you see right here, and it doesn't, that's going to drive mortgage rates higher. So it's another reason why we want to be aware of it. Do I think that we need a rate cut? No, I don't. I don't think we need one. All right, let's go back to the 50-year mortgage question. So rolling back through what you guys have to say here, a 50-year, Sean says a 50-year mortgages are stupid. I'm right there with you. I think that they are. Let's go through all the stuff and then I'll give my opinion a little bit. Amber said, I ran the math on it in my most recent TikTok. I will take a look at your math, Amber. Did your math include a higher rate and higher PMI? Because I notice a lot of people are not including that. Some people are, or some are including a higher rate, but not higher PMI. You would have higher PMI. Let's see. Remember when 40-year mortgages first came out, the rate was higher. The payment really that wasn't that much different. Yes, that's why they're pushing all the way for a 50-year mortgage, because in order to even see anything even remotely substantial to a payment change, it has to be a 50-year. It really was not a benefit for the consumer. They kept them for 40 years. It's a lot of interest. I'm not even going to argue about the amount of interest someone pays, because we have credit cards that pay 30% interest. We have rent, which is 100% interest. So I know where so many of you are coming about, where the life of the loan and how much interest they'll pay, but I won't even use that as a negative, because the argument is if you paid more in interest, but yet you paid rent, you don't have any equity growth, whereas you have the potential for equity growth when you own a home. So therefore the interest, not as big of a thing there. Ron said 50-year mortgage is getting closer to interest only. Yeah, and that was kind of what I was thinking too, Ron. It's funny because you and I think a lot alike. I was thinking to myself, if they're gonna do something with a 50-year term, why not just do something that has like a 5-year IO or a 10-year IO? And the answer is negative amortization. We know with World Option Arms and Coffee Cozy Cody and all these loans were bad. And if somebody is not getting any kind of appreciation on a property, if someone buys a property and they're not making any kind of equity move, and we hit a market where things do start to correct and prices come down, you're going to have a lot of strategic defaults. I think a 50-year mortgage, if it were to become widespread, could start a 2008 type crisis. I really do. I absolutely think it could. That's part of my thing on that. Mike Brown is a hero. He said, keep Hammer live, Taganello friend. So appreciate you, Mike. And absolutely. Let's see. So anything beyond a 5-year mortgage is stupid. I agree, Alan, but you got to have something for people. I think a 15-year actually is a really good mortgage. Both of my kids, we lent them money in our family, but we did 15-year amortizations for them. A 50-year mortgage is just long-term renting. If the average age of a first-time home buyer is 40, it means you'll be paying on a mortgage until you're 90. No bueno. Plus, the amount of interest you'd pay, you'd be better off financially by renting. Now, that's a great thing too, because the argument is that brings us back to why own a home. Is owning a home a financial instrument? Is owning a home because I want the ability to paint the walls any color that I want? I want the ability to knock down a wall if I want. There's those questions to that. So there's some merit to that part there. Seagull's pulling me on there. Dude, I would be happy to come on the show, except for I'm traveling from the 12th to the 21st. So if it's still relevant to talk the week of the 24th, I'm yours, baby. I'll debate you on the idea of the crisis. Too much to discuss here. So, because I think what I had said was I think it has the ability to create a 2008 type crisis. Amber said her comparison of a 30 versus a 50 and a 30 with a 5.5% rate. Do they both have a 5.5% rate? He's a finger pointer and a dipstick. Thank you, Jerry. That was back to the question about Pulte. I have formed my opinion based on articles and his tweets and his personality. I wanted to know if you guys think I'm wrong, because I could be wrong and I could be the imbecile. So I want to know what you guys think. Sean was a little more in depth here. Simply a 50-year won't accomplish the goal of helping people who can't afford a home now afford one. Rates will be higher. Monthly savings, maybe 5%. Also allow people to qualify, which will drive up prices. People will be stuck in homes unable to sell, buy, which will, yeah, exactly. Well, all you're doing is creating more of a situation where people get up in a home and there's no move-up buyers. People are handcuffed like they are after COVID. All a 50-year mortgage would do, my argument, to benefit consumers, it would end up just like the COVID rates did, and it would drive up prices. There would be no savings. You're not going to have extra people that are really able to get into homes. And this is a wage issue, not a home price issue. We created this problem. You have to let it resolve itself, and it's going to take a decade, just like the 2008 stuff did, and it was 2018. It's going to take a decade. We create these problems and then we want instant solutions. There is no band-aid solution. You want to make homes more affordable, then start incentivizing to build smaller homes and have people stop watching HGTV. How many people think their 9-year-old kid and their 12-year-old kid need their own bathrooms? This blows my mind. I see this on social media. These people think their kids need their own bathrooms. Hello? My wife grew up in a house with one bathroom for 4 people and shared a room with her sister until she was 16. That's what we had. That's what we grew up with in Gen X. And that, this whole Gen Z, don't even get me to the alphas. And it's not the millennials. We all yell about the millennials, but it's not the millennials. And a lot of you are millennials. It's the Gen Z that's coming around with this whole thing of, but no, and millennials trying to provide what's better for their kids too, right? You need small houses. My son's in a house that's like, 800 square feet. It's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. They were little houses that were built for workers for a big factory. And there's a whole little suburb of them, right? And those houses, that's what you have. Little postage stamp pieces of property. What do they build now? We build houses that are 3 and 4 bedroom, 2.5, 3 bath, this and that, 2-car garage. No garage. Build smaller, more affordable houses. Make it make sense to do that. Cut the regulations. Builders can't afford to do that a lot of times because of the regulations it costs to build houses. Thomas Sloan, 4 kids, 2 in-laws, 2 dogs, 2 cats, 1 wife, 1,330 square feet with 1 bathroom there. Exactly, dude. One of the best things that ever happened to me is I went broke in 2008, and I went from a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, center hall colonial to a tiny, house half the size, like 1,300 square foot, 1.5 bath, 3 bedroom, just single footprint, no basement, no garage, no anything. We were on top of each other. And you know what? When my kids were teenagers, and it made us a closer family. So my argument is 50-year mortgages are stupid. I think the idea of 15-year mortgages are stupid. I don't care about the big Trump lovers. I think Trump suggesting it is just, he knows they're stupid. He doesn't care. Dude's bright. He's a smart guy, and he's been in real estate a long time. These are just soundbite, kick the can down the road. Look at me. I'm making things better, blah, blah, blah type things. There's no reality to any of this. The investors, nobody wants to invest in a 50-year mortgage. So you're going to have higher rates for the premium. Remember, when we look every day at these things called mortgage-backed securities, when we're looking at this, the reason that we have this money being funded is because of lenders. Don't think it's going to be just a quarter point higher. I think that a 50-year mortgage would have to be at least a half a point higher in order to get investment. I think it would have to be at least a half a point higher than what you're looking at. There's no savings. And if you're talking 10%, if someone's getting a house, like I ran some numbers here, if you're talking a $400,000 loan with 5% down, a $400,000 purchase with 5% down at a 30-year loan, it was $2,400 a month, right? So calculate, what did it change to? Oh, that's the rate. So 6.5, right? Let's do 6.5. It's 2401.86. 2401.86. Now, let's say that you move that to a 50-year. Let's do 7 first, just because that's more realistic. Now you're at 2286. It's $120. That doesn't even count for higher PMI. That doesn't account for higher PMI. Let's say that for somehow it's not a half a point. Let's say it's only a quarter point, 6.75, right? And then now you're at 2213.98. So now you're talking barely, not even $200. It's $190. About $190 that you're saving a month. You're talking $2,000 a year. $2,400 a year for someone buying a $400,000 house. That should not make a difference. You know what that is? That's not buying some extra shit that's cutting back on your cereal. That's cutting back on Starbucks. That's going an extra year with an iPhone. That's that kind of money, right? Like, this is not a game changer, as the term was used. There's nothing real about any of this. And you know what's going to happen? You're going to have higher loan level price adjustment. You watch Fannie turn around and add a loan level price adjustment for a 50-year mortgage on top of it, right? And that would really just totally make me laugh my ass off. We turn around and all of a sudden we're going to have a matrix now with a loan level price adjustment for a 50-year mortgage. If you want to make a difference, cut all the LLPAs for credit score. Go ahead, do it. You've got the ability to do that, Pulte. Get Fannie and Freddie to do that. Cut the credit score requirement. After all, hey, that we're just trying to make it affordable. It's got nothing to do with risk. We're going with affordability here. The risk on a 50-year mortgage when somebody can't get out of the property because they have built no equity, you're going to have people stuck in houses. You're going to have people losing money. There's going to be people foreclosing because they can't afford to move. Robert said more money for investors. Main reason he's saying it. I don't disagree with you, dude. I don't disagree with you. Siegel, that I would never have any trouble telling you how I really feel. Angela said her first home was 700 square feet. Absolutely. That's the way that these things are supposed to go. This is, I don't see people that are arguing that this is a good thing. I don't get it at all. Aldrana says, great for investors. Interest only is always requested. You'll have people lying about it to get investor loans. Let's say that they weren't, supposed to be open to investors. You'll have investors committing fraud to get them. 30-year at 6.25, 50-year at 6.625, 30-year at 5.5. Oh, okay. All right. Oh, so if you're talking about like a buy down on the rate. All right. Got it. Yeah. So we'll take a look at those. Sean, I could live in a 1 bedroom house. My wife would still want 2 bathrooms. Yeah. Well, and that's it, man. That's the reality though. We didn't have these things, and previous generations didn't have these things. What you need, you want to know what the answer is? The answer in my mind is not fixed by the government or anything else. My kids are buying houses. The only way they're buying houses is with the help of mom and dad and grandma. All right. That's the only way they're buying houses. And we need to take the wealth and equity that is stuck within higher generations and help pass it along to younger generations. Now, what about the people that don't have that? Now you've got I don't want to make it a race thing because somebody will always make it a race thing, and it's not class. I don't want to make it a class thing, but there's definitely the haves and the have-nots. And there's a lot of people that can't. So how do you get those people into the mix? How do you help them to get in? Now, again, I got lucky. Right place, right time. I'm a blessed guy that's been able to make money in my life and bust my ass to make money. I've been in sales. Sales has allowed me to earn over my head. And otherwise, how would you do that? How do you get into that stuff, right? And the answer is that a 50-year mortgage isn't going to do it either. So that's where we got on there. How about the other float item, GSE buying MBS? Yeah, I mean, I don't know about that one. Again, if they're trying to drive rates down by creating demand, there's always a repercussion to that. The GSEs buying their own mortgage-backed securities, I did not even see that referenced, Ron. Again, I like to go away and relax for the weekend. You work too hard. Down payment assistance, Julie, if that's going to help in your market, because a lot of the argument is down payment assistance wouldn't help because the payment is too high in people's payment. Now, I agree with what my buddy Doug Adamczyk said, which was but when you have a $900 car payment, then how can you afford a home? And that's the thing too. All of this stuff. Now you've noticed that it's a wage issue. It's not a housing issue. It's not a housing affordability issue. So there's a whole lot to unpack with this one, but I don't think a 50-year mortgage is a good idea. I think it's just a clickbait type headline. I think it's crap. I think it has actual ability to create huge problems in the economy, in the housing market. It's kind of like when they planted kudzu here down south. Any of y'all down here live down here down south and have kudzu? Kudzu is a plant. They planted it for bank erosion, and instead it takes over and kills everything. So, things have consequences that we don't see. So, all right, my friends. Well, we're certainly long on this one today. Thanks again for joining me. Appreciate you. Yeah, Brian Phillips said next it'll be 15-year auto loans. Dude, they're already at 8 years. 8 years. Do you know how many people wrap up? Remember how when we would do houses and wrap up like money into the next house, you could do like they're doing that with these. Amir said we talk a lot about how expensive it is to build homes for builders. I care to know how it is expensive. The way new homes are being built, it is terrible quality. You're right. We use wood for framing. We build with stucco. A lot of the expense is regulation. A lot of the expense is labor. Labor is the number one expense for everything, and that has a lot to do with it. But yet, ridiculous bonuses to upper management. You're right. Some of these things, sales incentives to salespeople, maybe that's right. That's a great point. So, EJ said down payment assistance is unaffordable right now. USDA is a great option if the property qualifies. Well, and that's the thing is how do we get more loans that are like USDA then? Right? Maybe that's better than a 50-year mortgage. So, all right, y'all, we all got to get to work. You guys have a fantastic day. If you guys keep showing up, didn't mean to do that already. So anyway, have a fantastic one. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.